What's going on, guys? This is Kyle Carroll at MyMMAnews.com and Carroll's Corner MMA podcast. Tonight, I'm joined by Cathryn Millares, who will be competing in a super fight and purple belt.
Purple belt, yes.
In a purple belt competition for a good cause. They're going to be sub out domestic violence. Cathryn, thanks for joining me.
Thanks. No, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on.
So tell me, I know I've already done some interview with Amanda who will be competing on this event. Tell us a little bit about, for those who don't know and will be watching your interview, tell us a little bit about this event.
So actually, it's through Vault Jiu-Jitsu is who's hosting it, along with some help from Laura from 10th Planet and Kelly, Sabrina Kelly, who runs Vault with her husband. She put the event together really quickly, actually, which was amazing, which helps raise money for women that are in domestic violence situations. So to raise awareness, it's for a specific charity. At this point, actually, there's been so much money given from the competitors and from people donating that they reached their goal. So that's amazing. But it's for funding for women that are in domestic violence situations, which is amazing.
That's awesome that you guys reached their goal for the event. But, at the same time, there's never enough money to help prevent and battle it. And I know people who want to donate can still donate by going to the Domestic Abuse Project, DAP, DC.org.
To their site, and then you can make a contribution that way, which is awesome. So even though you can't directly donate to the actual event anymore, you can always donate there. And just like you said, there's never enough money that goes towards it, unfortunately.
Now you're competing in a purple belt matchup, a super fight. Tell us a little bit about your background. So purple belt, I know that's a pretty high up there in the rankings. Tell us a little bit how long you've been training for and a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. So I've been training for 5 years. I started at Paramount Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is under TAC Team, which is TAC Team's under Jared Weiner, and then Paramount Jiu-Jitsu is under Brad Court. And I'm still there. I'm hoping to stay there forever and get all of my belts through him. But I really just started for learning self-defense and wanting to get involved. And then I ended up staying because I love to compete. So I just got my purple belt in July, actually, of last year. So I'm coming up on a year soon. And I've always been, I think maybe since a month in at white belt, I've been competing. But this year so far, I think it's probably my biggest year competition-wise. I've averaged a lot of tournaments each month almost. I'm competing every month, at least twice a month. So it's been really exciting. Paramount's huge. We're right in Downingtown. We're in Pennsylvania, Downingtown. And we've been growing a ton. So it's really cool to be a part of that growth.
That's awesome. And, what about the sport made you fall in love with it and, keep competing, keep working towards your next belt? And what about it pulled you in?
So by nature, I think I am a super competitive person, and I've always been into athletics, but I never really knew what martial arts was. I thought it was just kind of karate, and that's kind of where it began and ended. But luckily, I met my boyfriend, who I started dating a little over 6 years ago, and he had just started as a white belt at Paramount. And he was like, "You got to get in here. You got to try this. You're going to love it." So I literally came in to my first class, fell in love with the sport, and I wanted to keep going because the biggest thing in jiu-jitsu is just there's no ceiling. You can constantly learn new moves and get better at them, but there's always more to learn. And I think you even see that at the highest ranks, really super seasoned black belts. There's always something new to learn. Every time I work at the gym as well, every time we have new people come in that are potentially going to sign up, I tell them picture a puzzle with 5,000 pieces and drop them on the floor and start picking them up slowly. And that's what jiu-jitsu is for me. It's one day I put together one piece of the puzzle and the next day I'm confused and can't find any of the pieces. So I think it's cool because you can constantly challenge yourself. You can constantly learn. There's constantly new people that are coming in, showing up, and they're super talented. And then for anyone that doesn't know, I'm a registered nurse. So on the days I have a hard time at work, it's the one thing that keeps me sane, pretty much. And I leave work and most people I feel are tired, and I'm I have to go to jiu-jitsu to just decompress. So all of that together is what keeps me coming back.
Now, have you recruited any of the other nurses that you work with to come out to the gym and train?
That's actually a great question, because I'm a big recruiter. So I always want people to try it. It's not really just like a sales thing. It's like a, hey, I love this, please come try it type thing. So yeah, I have a few people that have tried it because of me. We were running like a women's program before COVID at Paramount, and I'm pretty sure I got a lot of people to come in there. But the biggest thing I'm finding is a lot of the nurses' kids do jujitsu now. So we see a lot of nurses pretty regularly. And some of our like physician's assistants and our doctors come in. So it's been really cool to like be able to share what I love with other people.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's when you share an experience like that, everyone can talk about it now at work, and they won't know what you're. Well, they'll understand what you're talking about.
For sure. Jiu-jitsu is like such a niche community. So I feel like anybody that does it, they always know somebody else. Like my one nurse that I work with, she's like, my son does jiu-jitsu and he's like moving back to the area and he trains at this gym and it's called Paramount. I'm like, that's my gym. And so it's just funny how like things come full circle.
That is funny. Small world, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So now the event will be there'll be no competitor, it's just gonna be competitors and coaches, no fans in the stands, but they will be streaming it on May 23rd, starting at 11 a.m. Vault BJJ, I believe, is said going to be streaming it on their YouTube channel.
Yes, that is the plan. And
Awesome.
It's going to be right at Vault. So hopefully a lot of people will tune in. It stinks that they can't have people there, but it makes sense, obviously, with COVID restrictions and, there's a lot of competitors, so there really won't be a lot of space.
Awesome. Now tell us a little bit about, for those who don't know, the differences from belts to belt. I've interviewed a white belt. Tell us now how much more technique and skill is required from each belt as you climb. And I believe purple belt is second to before black belt, correct?
Yeah, it's purple, then brown, and then black belt.
Okay.
So right in the middle, because then white and blue are first and second belts.
Awesome.
So I think my answer is kind of subjective, and that's also what I think about the belts. I think that the belts are subjective. I think they're really important to recognize, but that each person that has their belt is on an individual journey. So what my belt means as purple could mean something completely different to somebody else. That being said, what I've found is I think once people reach purple belt, it's the point where they are recognized as somebody that like gets most of the basic concepts. Sorry, my raccoon's in the back.
A raccoon?
Happening. He's probably going to come up and see what I'm eating. So my apologies. But it's purple belt is like where you first understand, like they're getting almost the full picture. I know a lot of people tell me that once you hit purple, you're going to be a black belt one day. I know for me personally, it's silly to say, but I was really excited to get my purple belt because I found that it was more respectable than blue belt. Blue belt's that belt where like you can get brand new blue belts that just got, they just got past their white belt. And then you can get really super seasoned blue belts that have been doing this like way too long and need to be a purple belt. So there's kind of like a janky line almost at blue belt with technique. I almost feel like anybody can still be a blue belt, but with purple belt, you've put your time in. I'd say the average person's probably been there around like 4, 5, 6 years. They understand a lot of the concepts of the full aspect of jiu-jitsu as a physical thing, as a discipline, as an art. Whereas a blue belt is more, they're a little back and forth. And that's the same thing with white belts. Everybody could be a white belt, and then everybody could be a blue belt. But I feel like once you get to purple belt, you're starting to get a little more serious. And then honestly, I feel like brown belt, when you get there, you're not there very long. You're pretty much just the black belt without the color on. I feel like it's just kind of like this holding belt in between where you can teach the class. If you're a competitor, you're probably pretty good. But again, like I said, everybody's on a different journey. So my purple belt is going to look completely different than somebody else's purple belt. So hopefully that answers the question.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely does.
Very broad.
Well, it's jiu-jitsu is a very interesting sport. Like being that it's kind of like more of like an adult sport where you're not competing during high school. Well, like people can, but there's really, it's hard to explain. What I'm trying to say is like you said, different journeys. You just sign up just because you want to train and lose weight, or you could sign up because you want to compete and be a world champion and then move on to another sport like MMA or something. So I definitely understand what you mean by different journeys. It's definitely a different sport from anything else.
For sure, for sure. And I don't know. I mean, I wish I could go back and have started earlier. Like in high school, I would never have even thought to do this. But actually, the girl that I'm going against on Sub Out Violence is, I think, significantly younger than me. I don't even at the drinking age yet. And I'm almost 30. So I'm like, but what I love about it is honestly, I like their energy and I feel like they bring so much momentum to the game. The other thing about the girl, I don't really like know a ton about her, but I know that apparently she wrestles. And I just think that's like super cool that like, I mean, I'm only almost 30, like I said, but back when I was in high school, like there was no women wrestling. And now I'm like seeing all these young girls like wrestling with the boys. And just that I think is an example of how martial arts and wrestling and jiu-jitsu are evolving. Like there's kids in high school that are like kicking butt right now. So I think it depends on what the person's goals are, but I wish I found it earlier because there's some kids that are just like, I'm like, wow, it's amazing what they can do.
And you're absolutely right. And, you know, wrestling, I'm sure definitely helps when if you wrestled and then you get into jiu-jitsu, you kind of understand your hips and movement and stuff like that. And, you know, hand control and just the whole grappling aspect before you really even get into it. But before we continue, I got to go back to the raccoon. You have a pet raccoon?
I do. I actually, I have a pet raccoon. I have a pet skunk who is currently passed out next to me. And then I have a dog.
So the skunk's passed out. I take it he doesn't stink right now?
He does not have, this is him. You can see like the little black and white. He doesn't have scent glands since he's like a domesticated skunk, but that's him. His name's Miko. He was originally supposed to just be a foster because we love fostering exotic, crazy pets, but he's mine now. We adopted him. And then my dog is obsessed with him, so he is probably licking him. My raccoon's over in the corner. He was our first guy. He's actually just had his 5th birthday, so he's my original pet.
Wow. Now, I assume that they don't get out of the side of the house, or do you let them out, or how's that work?
So raccoon used to. He used to be really active. Like we would take him on like 6-mile walks out in like the park or pretty much wherever we could take him, he would go. But 2 things happened. The first thing is he's lazy. So when he doesn't walk anymore, he just like plops down and like runs home. So that was like useless. But also we have to be really careful because he's legal. Like every part of him is legal. We have all the paperwork. But if you let somebody touch a raccoon and they like make a comment that, you know, your raccoon bites them or like something happens, the game commission comes and they euthanize them immediately. Even if like you can that that didn't happen. And like 3 years ago, we had a scare where somebody like said that happened and we were honestly able to prove that it didn't. But from then on, we were like, it's not really worth him leaving the house. So unfortunately people ruin that, but he has like free roam of the house. He has his own bedroom. He kind of like does whatever he wants. He's actually, let me see if I can get him. He's always like interested in what I'm doing basically. So that's him. His name's Rocket after the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, nice.
He's really nice. He's just like, he's a little shy, but I think personally, he's the cutest thing ever. Like he's got the best looking raccoon face.
There's always the raccoons diving into the garbage pails near my house. So if you need friends,
that would be him. He's like really picky as an eater, but he likes to get into things. So he'll go through your trash. He probably just won't eat your trash.
That's funny. So how'd you get into being like an exotic foster parent for pets?
Yeah, so it was not my idea at all. I've been dating my boyfriend who is actually a brown belt. His name's AJ Deshani. And when we first met, he was saying he had a pet raccoon when he was little, like a wild one that you're like totally not allowed to have. And we were like getting ready to move into our house that I was buying. He was like, we should really get one. And I'm all about trying things once for the experience, even if it makes no sense. So we like did a lot of research and this lady had like a bunch of raccoons. Like it's a thing apparently to be able to get one, but you like need to do a lot of research. Make sure you do it completely legal. 100%. I don't recommend it. But we drove 8 hours and we came home with this like 1-month-old baby raccoon. And that's kind of where it started. We started like following all these people that had like raccoons, making sure we like knew what we were doing. And then the skunk kind of just like fell into my hands last August. We know like a bunch of rehabbers now. And the one lady somebody had like gave up their skunk because they were like pretty much neglecting it. It was overweight, and she was like, do you want to foster it until we find a place for it? I was like, sure. But he was like super attached to us, and we just couldn't get rid of him, basically. Like, I didn't even like him when we got him. I was like, he's kind of gross looking. Like, his hair was like matted and falling out, but he's grown on me a ton. He's like, all he does is just hang out like right next to me and with the dog. Like, that's all. He just chills and sleeps. He's kind of like a cat. So
I think it looked bigger than the dog and the raccoon put together.
Big. So when we got him, he was 30 pounds, which is like morbidly obese for a skunk. But now he's actually only 15 pounds. So he's getting there. And Jesus, like he wasn't able to walk. So he's doing a lot better.
That's awesome. Very cool.
He's really
cool. That's pretty cool. Definitely unique. I was going to, one of my questions I always ask everyone, what's something about you that nobody knows you like to share? But it looks like raccoons takes the cake in that question.
That's definitely it. He's the coolest thing. He's like my best friend, but he's like the worst pet. He's literally like a toddler on steroids, and he never grows up. So you don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that.
That's awesome. So when you're competing on May 23rd, who's going to be in your corner coaching you?
I'm super excited. So always my head coach, Coach Brad Court, is someone that I asked to come, but he's super busy. He's got like 2 kids now. And I'm lucky. Like I said, my boyfriend's a brown belt, and he's like my main training partner. So if Brad can't come, it will always be him. He'll probably come honestly either way. He knows my game really well. Some of it's like part of his game, but don't tell him that. So he seems to know everything that I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it. We usually like work through plans together. So it'll be him in my corner for sure.
Awesome. Now, any thoughts or plans for the future for you guys to make that transition to MMA? Is that something in the back of your mind you're thinking about, or is that not really an option for you?
So this is so sad because me personally, no. I wish I found it when I was younger, because I feel like I have the personality where I would want to do it, but I am a full-time nurse. I'm getting older. Like, these bones are not getting any younger. So probably not. But we did just get, we have a fighter who, his name's Dan O'Neill. He's at my gym. He's awesome. He just won his first amateur fight like this past weekend. And I was on the jiu-jitsu card, won my fight. So really, I'm just going to like live vicariously through him. He just got a second fight scheduled for July. And I feel like I'm like his unofficial fight finder. So whatever he does, I just like go in and, get a little taste of it. So that's pretty much as far as I'm going to go with MMA.
Awesome. Are you guys are you a big fan of like UFC, Bellator, PFL, or you follow jiu-jitsu, like the top tier competitors in jiu-jitsu?
I follow jiu-jitsu a lot. That's definitely like the number one thing I follow. I don't really watch a lot of Bellator, but we watch all the UFC stuff. And I love watching the girls. I'm a straw weight, I guess, technically, because I would be in the 115 class.
Okay.
I love watching the small girls. Like, I just watched Rose Namajunas win.
Mm-hmm.
I like Michelle Watterson. I like the 125ers. I love Mackenzie Dern because she is like, she's from jiu-jitsu and now she's killing it in MMA. So those are like my personal favorite. I know Gary Tonin he's been in one, and he is, a guy that came from jiu-jitsu. So like, I love watching that because they will, they'll put some grappling into their fighting. But I'm also a huge fan. I'm becoming a huge fan of like striking in general. So I'll definitely watch the fights if they're good, for sure. And then, of course, I'll watch all my friends like Fatima Klein. She's coming up on Invicta, making her debut. So I'll definitely be watching that. And
I literally just interviewed her just before you.
Did you? Oh, I love her. We did Submission on the Shore as a team event together, and I'm like a huge fan of her. And then she trains with Erin Blanchfield, who just got finally signed to the UFC and like keeps like getting screwed on these fights. So hopefully she'll make it soon and we'll be able to watch her too, because she's like such a killer. So you should interview her if you haven't interviewed her yet.
Awesome. I remember watching Erin fight from when she was an amateur at ACC in New York, and definitely a talented young woman. But about Fatima, like, tell us a little bit about her as like her potential, because I've been hearing about her for years. I've interviewed her like 2 years ago before a fight that just kept getting postponed and then it finally occurred. But tell us a little bit about her and her, like, how skilled she is.
So she has a ton of potential because she's a danger on the feet striking. She's a danger on the ground grappling, and she has that mindset that I think you need in order to win. You know, she's young. She has really good support of not only her team but her family. Her sister is like, she just started doing jiu-jitsu and she's killing it too. So she has her sister to train with. She has her mom who's like super into fitness to help her, and plus they're like really supportive. Fatima comes out of Black Hole, so Mike Wacker is like, he's doing something special over there with all the people he has. So she just has like a great camp. And she's young and she's motivated. So I think that there's going to be a lot for her to go really far. I think nothing but like success in her future. So I'm just hoping to be a part of it. I'm trying to come visit Black Hole again and get in there and be like, I know that girl when she was normal. But yeah, so I'm excited. You guys should definitely keep an eye on her.
Awesome. Definitely plan to. Tell us what fans can expect in your matchup against Mileena.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't even know if I know yet. I don't know. I always go in with one game plan, but then I have different options. I feel like, you know, I can play the bottom and I can play the top. So we'll kind of see what the plan is. I know a lot of people have been watching my recent matches where I have been finishing with some leg locks, but my goal this year was to get good at a little better at IBJJFs. Where obviously leg locks, they're not allowed at purple belt. So maybe I'll just come out and play an IBJJF game. I'm not sure. We'll see. I guess we'll have to find out after the fight.
Awesome. Cathryn, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Looking forward to seeing you get in there. For those who are watching, you'll be able to watch the fights on YouTube at Vault BJJ on YouTube. Like I said, May 23rd, the fights start at 11 a.m. And I believe they go from white belts and all the way up through the weight classes and the rankings to black belt, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a black belt fight, but there's definitely a really good brown belt fight. 115ers. So yeah, it'll be really fun. I'm excited that they gave the white belts the chance too. So I think you're gonna see some really good jiu-jitsu. So definitely tune in.
Absolutely. And, you know, support this event, ladies and gentlemen. It's for a great cause. Help women who battling domestic violence or getting out of it, and help support them. So definitely for a great cause.
Yeah, for sure. And then if I could just give a couple of shout outs,
Absolutely.
So again, Paramount BJJ, that's my first shout out. Number 2 is the Horn Squad. So everybody that's on it, if you don't know it, you should. And number 3 to Hyperfly, because they're my sponsor and I love them. And then last but not least, Hybrid Healer. She is sponsoring me for Sub Out Violence, and she is amazing. So please follow her and go check out her stuff also.
Awesome. And if people want to follow you and the Raccoons and the Skunks, how can they follow you?
So my biggest platform is Instagram, but you can find me on Facebook too at Cathryn_Ivy. And if you love Rocket more, which I think everybody does, you can go to at Pet Rocket Raccoon now. And you can say hi. He's got everybody's in his DMs, so don't expect us to answer at this point. He's too popular.
I believe it. There's more dogs out there with bigger Instagrams and everything than I do, than I'll ever have. So
for sure.
Just gotta accept it, right? Well, Cathryn, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you compete, and I wish you the best of luck.
Cool. Thanks so much, Kyle. I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you. This is the Carroll's Corner MMA podcast, and we're signing off.